Stephen Wikowski from Christian Music Network, and we're here with Steve and Annie Chapman. So how are you doing?
Doing well.
We're doing fine at this age. It's good to be anywhere, and
Definitely. Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Yeah. I think the last time I saw you guys was in 1980s over in Johnstown, PA. Yeah.
that's back in the 1900s, man.
Yes. Oh, I know. We're all getting old. Oh wow. By the grace of God.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So tell me about yourselves.
Well, Annie and I met in the great state of West Virginia back in 1963.
Wow.
I went to Central Junior High School in the town of Point Pleasant.
Okay.
Point Pleasant is known for its disaster. The Silver Bridge fell there, and that's our claim to fame, unfortunately. Killed 46 people, but that's where we met. It's on the Ohio River. And I was in the 8th grade, and she came out of the country.
Out of the South Side, West Virginia, took the bus into town to go to junior high.
So we met in the halls of Central Junior High School, and it was love at first sight for Annie.
But we really didn't get to know each other and be really friends till high school.
Yeah.
We were in choir together, and
I'm a deer hunter. I don't know if you may know that, but I love to hunt. And I didn't really know Annie. I knew who she was, and we were friends in the choir, but we weren't acquaintances like close friends. But I was in the choir room one day, and I overheard Annie telling someone that her brother had killed an 11-point buck on their farm. Well, that got my attention, and I promptly invited myself to hunt with him. And I didn't know, Stephen, that Annie had a crush on me. And
Wow.
she figured the way to a man's heart's through his tree stand. So
there you go.
and that was we've been married 48 years, so I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
So we
testimony.
We met there, and through her farm, we became friends, and she went on to Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. What year was that?
69, and then I graduated in 72.
Okay.
And I went to Glenville State College in West Virginia, and then transferred to Marshall, and I was number 52 on the draft lottery. So I went ahead and joined the Navy to fulfill the military service. And so we went our separate ways from high school, and move ahead to 1974. I was out of the Navy, and I ended up in Nashville, and on Music Row, I found a coffee house, and I was writing songs, and started writing songs in high school, and formed a group called Dogwood that existed from 1970 to around 74, 75. But in the early stages of that, it was just me and a guy named Ron Elder. He was from West Virginia as well. But we got an invitation from a lady that wrote "One Day at a Time, Sweet Jesus," Mary John Wilkin.
Right, yes.
She was planning a tour with that song, and invited me and the guys in Dogwood to be her backup. And I figured we'd need some backup vocals. So I invited Annie, who we got together after, in what year was that? We went to the Oak Ridge Boys concert.
Well, that That was when I was 21.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I worked in Philadelphia in the inner city ministry
Yeah.
in 74.
Awesome.
And then moved, Steve told me about the tour with Mary John Wilkins and asked if I'd like to come and sing backup for her. And so I prayed about it, and I told my dad, I said, I may be gone a month, I may be gone 2 months, I may never come home. And that was 48 years ago. But I came to Nashville, and Steve came to pick me up in Knoxville at UT Knoxville at the college. My brother had gone to see his girlfriend there. He dropped me off. Steve came from Nashville to pick me up. And on the way home, he told me that the tour had canceled. All the things he had promised me, everything he had said, none of it was going to happen. And he was he was thinking, well, I will just turn around and go back home. And I said, I didn't come because you invited me. I came because I thought God wanted me to. So all this has nothing to do with why I'm here. So we a week later, we dated that week and got engaged and got married 4 months later.
Wow.
We didn't waste any time. So we got married, and Dogwood was me and Ron and Annie
No.
at the beginning.
No.
Well, I know it was Bobby Dennis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a trio.
Right.
I
Okay.
wasn't going to do music. I had no intentions of being a part of it. Bobby, the tenor, dropped out
All right.
on a Wednesday. I knew the songs because I'd sat in on the rehearsal. I rehearsed on Thursday and we sang on Friday, and just that's the transition. And our stage was the back of a big truck
Yeah. It's one of those flatbeds, you know.
in a parking lot. So we started at the top.
Oh.
So, and then Ron and Annie and I sang together for a year or so, year or two,
Well, until
Nathan, our firstborn.
77. So
Yeah.
2 years. I sang with him 2 years, and then our son was born. And then they took a 6-piece band to replace me, and not adequately.
Yeah.
And so I then stayed home for the next 2 years with our son, and then we had a daughter. And then in January of 81, it's a long story about how Dogwood disbanded, but we started working together and took the kids with us on the road in January of 81.
Let me give you just a little insight to that transition. I dropped out of Dogwood because I was becoming a stranger to our son. Dogwood would travel 18, 20 days a month, and I came home one weekend and or after a long trip, and Nathan was 3.
He was 3. Mm-hmm.
And he did something after about an hour at home. He did something behaviorally that I didn't approve of, and I called him on it. And that little 3-year-old pointed his little finger in my face and said, "Old man, why don't you get in that motorhome and go take another trip?" And that was when I realized I'm losing him. And so I gave a 6-month notice to leave the group, and I made that announcement to the group just before a concert in Decatur, Illinois. I'll never forget it. Doing that was the right thing, but my timing in telling it was not good. It was just before we went out on stage. And so we went out, and we must have looked like the wrath of God, because the chief cook and bottle washer was leaving the group. And so we finished the concert and had to drive back to Nashville on Saturday night, overnight. And I took the midnight shift driving and was sitting there in the dark on the interstate, second guessing what I had done, what I had announced to the guys, because they were not happy. They were
Right.
disappointed and wondering, did I really do the right thing? Well, we got to Nashville on Sunday early, and I said, just drop me off at the church. I know Annie and Nathan will be there. So I went into the Sunday school class where I knew Annie was, and still second guessing myself, feeling bad, wondering, where's the peace? I believe I made the right decision, but where's the peace that's supposed to accompany it? So I leaned up against the wall. I was so tired having driven through the night. I leaned up against the wall and just slid down it and sat down on the floor. And Stephen, on the screen was a guy talking. And the moment my bottom hit the floor, he said something that a flood of peace came. He looked at the crowd he was speaking to and said, how can you ever be a good husband and father if you're never home? And at that moment, the peace came, and I knew I'd done the right thing. That man was Jim Dobson, Dr. James Dobson.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And didn't realize that a mere 3 years later, he would give us a platform through his Focus on the Family program that transformed our lives. And, we're forever grateful to Dr. Dobson for doing that. But to tell how that happened could be a long story, but it's just amazing how the Lord networks our lives and guides us, and he's kind to us that way. But I needed that confirmation. So we started singing together in 1980. And during that 6-month period, when I was about to leave the group, I wrote a lot of songs about family life because I was missing my family. And those songs became our repertoire. One of them being, Daddy, Please Find a Reason to Stay with My Mama, that's on the Turn Your Heart Toward Home film series.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot of songs like that. And the more we would sing them, the more affirmation we got from audience members saying things like, you just sang what we just went through or are going through. Please don't stop saying those things. Encourage others. And so the family theme became our signature. Everything we did and still do is some way deals with relationships. And that, quite honestly, has been our strength and our weakness commercially. We don't fit in much to Christian radio, or back then we didn't, and definitely don't now, but back then we fell in the cracks. We had all these story songs that were not, Southern gospel. They weren't CCM, but thankfully there were a lot of stations that played them because people wanted to be encouraged about their family. And so here we are in 2023, still on occasion doing concerts, and grateful to have any opportunity, but still writing songs, and most of them show up on Facebook. I don't think we'll do another CD. People aren't buying them, so people want their music basically for free. And so we accommodate that. If I write a new song, I'll post it on Facebook, and that's about the only place it appears.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so that's our 48 years together in what, 6-8 minutes?
There you go. So you got some songs to share.
Yeah,
We'll sing you. You want us to sing you a couple of songs?
Yes.
I don't know what the quality is with the Zoom thing, but one of the songs that we sing a lot, especially at this age, I jokingly say I turned 63 and more recently 73.
72.
72.
Yeah, don't
I'll
shortchange it.
I'll be 73 in December. So.
Yeah. I don't want you to shortchange because I'm 1 year behind
yeah.
you. So that messes me up.
Oh boy.
But the older I get, the more these words mean something to us. And it's
Sure.
a song called Finish Well.
Okay.
I want to finish well. I want to end this race. Still leaning on His amazing grace. I want my last few miles to testify that God never fails. I don't want to fall down this close to the line. I want to finish well. He'll turn 81 next Sunday. I called him on the phone. I said, I'm coming to see you, Grandpa. What can I bring along? Would you like a dish for your TV? Would you like the internet? He said, thank you, boy, but this ain't the time to be tripping over stuff like that. 'Cause I want to finish well. I want to end this race. Still leaning on His amazing grace. I want my last few miles to testify that God never fails. I don't want to fall down this close to the line. I want to finish well. But you can bring me a Bible where the words are big and tall, so these old eyes can read the truth that'll help me not to fall. 'Cause I want to finish well. I want to end this race. Still leaning on His amazing grace. I want my last few miles to testify that God never fails. I don't want to fall down this close to the line. I want to finish well. I don't want to fall down this close to the line. I want to finish well. So we do that a lot in our concerts, and people sing along with us, and grateful for that. We're storytellers.
Yes.
I'm always drawn to a good story song, and I'm always listening for good song ideas, story ideas, and I tell people they need to be careful what they say around me because it might end up in a song.
There you
go. We were in Georgia for a Sunday morning service at a church, and I had just gone through the death of my dad, and I was actually holding him when he died, and I told the congregation I didn't know what to say when I realized what was happening. I realized he was dying, and I thought, what do I say in this moment? And the only thing I could think to say was, just go on home, Dad, they're waiting for you. Of course, talking about his parents and brothers and sisters who had passed on. Just go on home, they're waiting for you. So after the service, this lady came to me and said, I appreciate what your last exchange with your dad. Can I tell you about my last words with my dad, who was dying? And I said, sure. When she finished, her name was Jonelle. I said, Miss Jonelle, do you mind if I tell other people what you just told me in a song? And she said, sure. So this was Jonelle Barker is her name. This is the kind of thing we like to write and sing about. He came down to his final day, something on his heart he had to say to his daughter, from the heart of a father. He took her hand, couldn't stop the tears, and said, I let you down through the years, wish I could do it over. I'd do it better Lord knows I'd do it better. She stood by his bed, they both cried. She wiped the tears from his eyes and said, I understand. You've done the best you can. But would it help if I reminded you about the teenage hell I put you through? Oh, Daddy, here's what we ought to do. Let's call it even. We both had a bad run. Let's talk about the good times. We can say we both won. On the other side of heaven's door, you won't find love keeping score. We're forgiven. Oh, forgiven. Let's call it even. He said, I guess it's true what they say. A little child will lead the way, my sweet baby. What a gift you just gave me. Now I can leave this world feeling free. Nothing between you and me. No regrets. Oh, that's God's mercy. So let's call it even. Both had a bad run. Let's talk about the good times. We can say we both won. On the other side of heaven's door, you won't find love keeping score. We're forgiven. Oh, forgiven. On the other side of heaven's door, you won't find love keeping score. We're forgiven. By his grace, forgiven. Let's call it even. Let's call it even.
And so,
We sang that in Cookeville, Tennessee.
mhm.
And about, I don't know, 6 weeks later, a lady wrote us a letter and said she was prompted to go speak to her father. She was, there was a division between the two of them. And she went and talked to her dad and patched things up, and he died. So she was so grateful to be prompted through a story, through Jonelle's story, to be prompted to reconcile with her dad. And so we get, that's our Grammys, Stephen. We don't have any hardware. Well, we did win one dove, and we weren't even there to get it. We were at our daughter's birthday party.
Okay.
The Dove Awards was going on, and Heidi had turned 7 or 8, and so we went to the party, and the record company had to accept it for us. So we do have a piece of hardware.
There you
But
go.
other than that, these songs, that touch hearts like that, they're precious. We have somewhere in the Midwest, there's a young lady named Stephanie Ann, who was tell that story.
Well, we wrote a song years ago called "Bring That Child to Me," and it's about, if you don't want the child, I want a child. It was a pro-life message that, and so this woman was going to on her way to have an abortion, and she told her friend she was going to go have the abortion, and her friend said, "Would you stop by my house on the way? Before you go, will you stop by my house?" And so she had her come in, and she played her that song, "Bring That Child to Me." And so the woman decided to give birth to the little girl. It was a little girl. and she gave the baby up for adoption. And she said she gave it up for adoption with the stipulation that the child would retain the name that she gave the baby. And she named the baby Stephanie Ann because she heard that song, and that's why she decided not to abort her baby. So those are, Steve carried that letter around in his wallet for decades because we wanted to remember. Those are nice remembrances of why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Could you share that song too?
Oh,
I don't know that I could play it.
do you remember?
Even though you never, no, that's labor of my heart.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No, we can't.
Okay.
But it's probably online somewhere.
Yeah, our
Okay.
streaming service is Bandcamp.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Steve and Annie Chapman at bandcamp.com. And I believe that song is on there because it's
Bring That Child to Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. After 500 songs, they all start running together, Steve.
Sure. No problem.
Hey, I wanted to go back. I don't know. Back in, we'll go back to the 70s.
Okay, 70s, all right.
And it was around 1972, 73. I got out of the Navy and was roaming around the country in a car, living in a car, having an adventure life. And I was 22 or so, wasn't married. And when I was 16, I wrote a song, and I got to sing it as a warm-up to this group, Southern gospel group called the Happy Goodman Family.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so they liked what I did and said, we're going to record that song. Well, they never did, but I got out of the Navy, and by then, after I got out of the Navy, I let my hair grow. My hair was on my shoulders, and I was running around like a hippie. I had the flannel shirt and the bell-bottom jeans.
Right.
And I happened to go through Madisonville, Kentucky, and I went, hey, this is where the Happy Goodmans live. So I stopped at a gas station, and I said, do you know where the Happy Goodman offices are? And they said, yeah, it's over on Grapevine. So I went over, and I walked in. I looked like the wrath of God, Stephen. I mean, I looked awful. Probably smelled bad, but I walked into Rusty Goodman's office. No, I walked in, and Rusty and Sam were in the hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked up to him and I said, hey, Steve Chapman, I sang for you in Red Jacket, West Virginia, sang in front of you. They were just so puzzled because when they saw me, I had the slick back Pentecostal hairdo, had the suit and all that stuff. Now I'm a full-blown hippie.
Okay.
And I'm standing there in the hall, and we didn't talk about music, and I didn't get to ask them about my song that they never did. But I started to leave, and I hear Sam say to Rusty as I'm heading down the hall, we got to get this place cleaned up for pictures tomorrow. They had just built a new studio. And I stopped, and I turned around, I went back to Sam, and I said, for a few dollars, I'll clean the outside up for you, because it was construction debris. I'll clean up outside for you. I could use some cash. He said, okay, I'll come back at 7 tonight and we'll settle up. And he came back, and I picked up a 5-gallon bucket of nails, I believe. And anyway, he said, he gave me $40, which was a lot of money back then. And he said, where are you staying? I said, in that car. He said, well, we got a bedroom back here in our office building. Won't you just stay there tonight? 3 months later, I'm still there. They gave me a job. I loaded their bus and did it, cleaned up and took their equipment in for repairs and stuff. I was just a gopher. Mm-hmm. So one day I walked in Rusty's office. Rusty's he was an incredible songwriter. Mm-hmm. And I said, Rusty, I've written a song. And I started singing it. It goes like this. Well, in my house, there's been a mercy killing. The man I used to be has been crucified. And the death of this man was a final way of revealing. In a spiritual way to live, I had to die. Now if I let a dead man linger in me, I might get a little idle my way. So I'm going down to the Celebration River. Gonna take this dead man down to his water grave. I'm going down to the river. I'm gonna be buried alive. I want to show Heavenly Father that man I used to be has finally died. Now when I think of where I'm going, in terms of where I've been, makes me glad to know, my Lord, that I've been born again. I'm going down to the river. I'm gonna be buried alive. I want to show my Heavenly Father that the man I used to be has finally died. Yeah, the man I used to be has finally died. The man I used to be has finally died. Well, I finished the song and Rusty said, well, the Happy Goodmans will never record that one.
Okay.
But then he said, Steve, that's a good song. And I figured if Rusty Goodman would say that about one of my songs, I probably should pursue this. And I give him a lot of credit for, have you ever heard the saying, a turtle on a fence post? I feel like a turtle on a fence post.
I think so.
Yeah, the imagery is, how does a turtle get on a fence post? Somebody has to put him up there.
Exactly.
And people like that, Jim Dobson and others through the years, Star Song Records, Pat Boone early on took on Dogwood. And so, you know, we're turtles on a fence post, and grateful for the influence of others in our lives. And that's kind of a retro song right there. Funny thing is, Stephen, I couldn't sing it. Ron had to do the lead vocal with the band because it was, my range is very small. But anyway, ended up the Imperials recorded it, and some other people have done it. So
Yeah, it's a great song. Yeah. Yeah. Your website, they can get your music there.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. they can.
actually a lot of free music on the website, steveandanniechapman.com, and they can see where we're going to be. We are what town are you in, Stephen? I can't remember.
I'm in Philadelphia area.
I feel it.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
I don't know if you ever heard, I mean, I don't think they're in a ministry now, but it was Teen Haven.
Okay.
With Bill Drury back in the 70s. And so I lived on North Broad Street.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So that was my neighborhood, and we ministered to the people in that community. And we had a camp out in Lancaster County, and the Mennonite people would bring the vegetables and the fruit, and the meats, and we would take kids from the inner city on buses out there, and they rode horses, and it was that's what I was doing when I decided to leave Philadelphia and that area and go to Nashville.
Well, Annie's mother always made me the bigger biscuit because she was so grateful for me to get Annie out of Philadelphia.
She was afraid. She was afraid of the big city. And rightly so. But I have good memories of Philadelphia, but that's been a long time ago.
And Pennsylvania, Annie and I have been to Pennsylvania so many times through the years, especially around New Holland and the central part. And one of our favorite groups of people to sing to are Mennonites. They're such sweet people. And but we've been. I thought at one time we should give a forwarding address up there because we were there so much.
Sure. Yeah. In New Holland, I used to do a music fest once a year there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good people, good place.
Yes. A beautiful park that they have there.
Yeah. We
Yes.
sung in that park. You remember that, Steve?
Yeah, music in the park.
Yes, there's like there's a swimming pool also there. So it's a wonderful park.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it for like several years.
Yeah.
I did. New Holland, I would do Norristown, would do Sallerton, and Wind Gap. So those were the four areas I would do each year.
Yeah.
Wind Gap has the big clock there, right? Or does it still have it? It used to be a big clock. But that's, like I said, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Many a mile ago.
Yeah.
Yes. Certainly. So how can we contact you?
Well, our mailing address is on our contact page on the website. And but it's just P.O. Box 337, Pleasant View, Tennessee 37146. And
it's just steveandanniechapman.com as far as the internet.
Yeah.
So
and our Facebook is Steve Annie. It's all one word, Steve Annie Chapman.
Okay, awesome. So for your concerts, you do mostly the story songs?
Yeah, it's singer-songwriter kind of thing. We use some videos. We go to Wisconsin here in 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll do a Valentine event and do a lot of songs. And it's about 70% music and 30% verbiage.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. And I do a lot of wild game dinners too. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you've written some books too, or?
Yeah, in 94, 95, we started writing books together, and then 98, 96, I wrote a book called A Look at Life from a Deer Stand, and that birthed a whole genre of books for hunters and fishermen and outdoorsmen. And Annie's written some books. One of her best is 2 of them, actually, Taking Back Your Life One Thought at a Time, about her journey from rage to peace. And then a book that Dr. Dobson just quoted in his new book, and did a couple of interviews with Annie, called The Mother-in-Law Dance: Can Two Women Love the Same Man and Still Get Along? And that was well received. And I have a new book coming out in May for golfers. I like to golf. Hunters and golfers basically do the same thing. We go to the woods and look for something. But sure. I wrote a devotional for golfers called Look at Life from the Fairway, and it's coming out in May.
Yeah, it's a great book. If you're a golfer or you have a golfer in your family, they'll love that devotional. So.
You know what GOLF stands for? Go Out, Look Foolish.
There you go. Yeah. That's a new one.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So do you have any advice for other musicians?
Yes, I would say that we are servants, and it's not a popularity contest. We are Levites. We are people who offer psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs to encourage the body. And for some of us, we are evangelists with our music. I like all types. And I think God uses, we reach people that Toby Mac can't reach. They won't listen to Toby Mac, but they'll listen to us.
There you go.
We all need, the body of Christ is made up of many members, and we fill a small gap, but we're there because that's where he called us to be. And I think a young musician needs to figure out what is their specific calling. And it's so important to not try to mock other musicians, but let God make you the unique musician that you
Imitate.
are. Yeah. Not mock, but imitate.
Yeah.
Not imitate.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, don't imitate.
Yeah. Thank you.
There you go. You need me.
I
see?
need her.
He still needs me. That's the
There
truth.
you go. There we go. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yep. Any last words?
Just, I pray that 2023 will be a blessed year for you and for your family and all those that are listening.
We'll leave you with a musical encouragement from
Awesome.
Dogwood.
Okay.
Keep on walking. You don't know how far you've come. Keep on walking. All you know, it may be done before. Might be standing up right now to give the call. The call is home. So keep on walking.
There you go. That's a word for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you.
God bless you.
Looking forward to the new book and maybe some other projects.
All right.
And more songs on Facebook.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Bye-bye.
God bless you.